My family mocked my broke tech dreams. I exposed a $1.4 billion empire and rebuilt their future. The silence in Valentina's bridal boutique was deafening. My sister Victoria stared at the receipt in the cashier's hand like it was written in a foreign language. The number $2,300,000 credit limit glowed on the screen, and below it, my available balance, $847,000. "There must be some mistake," Victoria whispered, her perfectly manicured fingers reaching for the receipt. The cashier, an elegant woman named Mrs. Lauren, who'd been working with Beverly Hills Elite for over 20 years, simply smiled and handed Victoria the paper with practiced professionalism. "No mistake, Miss Rodriguez has one of our platinum black card accounts. We don't see limits like this very often." Mrs. Lauren turned to me with genuine respect. "Would you like us to expedite the alterations? We can have everything ready by tomorrow afternoon." I nodded calmly, watching Victoria's face cycle through confusion, disbelief, and something that looked dangerously close to panic. "That would be perfect. Thank you." For the past 8 months, Victoria had made it abundantly clear that I was the family disappointment, while she was planning her elaborate $200,000 wedding to tech executive Marcus Sterling. I was supposedly struggling to make ends meet as a freelance graphic designer working out of a cramped studio apartment in Silver Lake. At least that's what my entire family believed. The truth was astronomically different. 4 years ago, I'd founded Phoenix Digital Solutions, a software development company specializing in AI-powered marketing, automation, and predictive analytics. We'd grown from a one-person operation in my studio apartment to a company currently valued at $1.4 billion, with headquarters in San Francisco, satellite offices in Austin, Miami, and Seattle, and international partnerships across Europe and Asia. I'd been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. TechCrunch had called me the quiet revolutionary of AI marketing, and Wired had done a cover story on Phoenix Digital's breakthrough algorithms that could predict consumer behavior with 96.7% accuracy. We'd quietly acquired 12 smaller tech firms over the past 2 years, and our client list included Fortune 500 companies that paid millions annually for our services. But I'd kept it all meticulously hidden from my family. Years of being dismissed as the creative one who'd never amount to anything substantial had taught me the value of staying completely under their radar. While Victoria flaunted her $85,000 marketing manager salary and constantly bragged about her fiancé's success at his venture capital firm, I'd been building a tech empire in absolute silence. "Isabella," Victoria's voice cracked slightly as she clutched the receipt. "Where exactly did you get this card?" "Hi, bank," I replied simply, adjusting the strap on my deliberately modest leather shoulder bag. "Wells Fargo Private Banking, same place everyone gets their cards." Victoria's eyes darted frantically around the boutique, taking in the $3,200 bridesmaid dresses I'd just purchased without a moment's hesitation, the additional $14,000 I'd spent on matching shoes, jewelry, and accessories, and the $30,000 custom alterations package that would ensure everything fit perfectly. The total was more than she made in 7 months, and I'd handled it like buying coffee. "But you said you couldn't afford the bachelorette party in Napa," she said, her voice climbing higher with each word. "You specifically said the $400 per night hotel was too expensive for your budget." "I said I couldn't make it that weekend," I corrected gently, pulling out my phone to check the time. I had a crucial board meeting with our investors that Friday. The timing conflicted. "Board meeting?" Victoria laughed, but it sounded forced and slightly hysterical. "What kind of board meeting? Isabella, you're a freelance graphic designer. What board could you possibly be meeting with?" I glanced at my phone as it buzzed with a priority notification. The screen showed a Slack message from my chief technology officer. "Isabella, the Microsoft partnership is officially confirmed. They're integrating our AI algorithms into their entire advertising platform. The licensing deal is worth $340 million over 3 years. The team is celebrating in Conference Room A. Congratulations, boss." I quickly closed the notification before Victoria could read the details, but her sharp eyes had caught the preview text and the sender's title. "Microsoft. Isabella, what the hell is going on here?" Victoria's voice had gone from confused to almost accusatory. Mrs. Lauren began carefully folding the expensive dresses into elegant branded boxes, clearly sensing the family drama brewing but maintaining her professional composure. Miss Rodriguez, should we arrange delivery to your usual address? My penthouse address is already on file, I said calmly. The one on Wilshire Boulevard, Unit 40701. Victoria's mouth fell open so wide I thought she might dislocate her jaw. Penthouse? You told Mom and Dad you lived in a 600-square-foot studio in Silver Lake. You showed us pictures of your tiny kitchen. I do have a working space in Silver Lake, I said truthfully. It's where I originally started the company and where I still go when I need complete focus. The penthouse is where I actually live. Before Victoria could formulate a response, my phone began ringing. The caller ID displayed Marcus Sterling, her fiancé. I frowned, genuinely puzzled about why he'd be calling me directly instead of going through Victoria. "Hello, Marcus," I answered, accidentally hitting the speaker button in my surprise. "Isabella, thank God you picked up." Marcus's excited voice filled the entire boutique. "I just got out of the most incredible partnership meeting. You'll never believe what happened. Sterling Ventures just landed the opportunity of a lifetime." Victoria stepped closer to me, her face growing paler by the second. "Marcus, why are you calling my sister directly?" There was a long, awkward pause on the line. "Victoria, I didn't realize. Isabella, are you with Victoria right now?" "We're at Valentina's," I said carefully, shooting Victoria a look. "Getting the final bridesmaid dress fittings." Oh, another pause. This one even more uncomfortable. Well, this timing is actually perfect then. "Isabella, Phoenix Digital Solutions just became the talk of the entire Silicon Valley venture capital community. The Microsoft partnership announcement has everyone scrambling to get meetings with you. My firm is desperately trying to secure a position in your next funding round." Victoria grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks. "Phoenix Digital Solutions? Marcus, what are you talking about? That's not Isabella's company." "Your sister's company, babe. Phoenix Digital is literally one of the hottest AI startups in the country right now. Isabella, my senior partners are prepared to offer a 20% premium valuation if you'll consider letting Sterling Ventures lead your Series D funding. We know you're planning to expand into the European market, and we have the connections you need." I glanced at Victoria, whose face had gone from pale to completely ashen. She looked like she might faint right there in the boutique. "Marcus, we can discuss business opportunities later. This is family time right now." Of course. But Isabella, seriously, congratulations on the Microsoft deal. $340 million in licensing fees is absolutely incredible. You've built something truly revolutionary. The predictive algorithms Phoenix Digital developed are changing how major corporations approach marketing entirely. He hung up, leaving Victoria and me standing in the middle of Valentina's bridal boutique, with Mrs. Lauren pretending to be extremely busy organizing tissue paper while clearly listening to every word. $340 million, Victoria whispered, her voice barely audible. "Just for licensing our technology to Microsoft," I said quietly. "The core company generates significantly more revenue annually." Victoria sank into the nearest cream-colored velvet armchair designed for nervous mothers of the bride. Her legs seemed to have given out completely. "I don't understand any of this. When did this happen? How did this happen? Isabella, are you telling me you're actually—" I sat down across from her in a matching chair, finally ready to have the conversation I'd been avoiding for over 4 years. "Do you remember my Stanford graduation when Dad said my computer science degree was just expensive paper and that I'd never make real money because girls don't understand technology?" Victoria nodded numbly, her eyes still fixed on my black card lying on the small table between us. That night, I decided I would prove him wrong in the most spectacular way possible. I started Phoenix Digital Solutions in my dorm room the week after graduation with $8,000 I'd saved from various internships and programming jobs. I built our first artificial intelligence marketing algorithm while working 4 different part-time jobs to pay for server costs and development tools. "But you never said anything," Victoria protested weakly. "You let us all think you were barely getting by." "Because every single time I tried to share any kind of success, someone in our family would immediately dismiss it or minimize it. Remember when I tried to tell Dad about landing my first corporate client? He said, 'That's nice, honey, but when are you going to get a real job with benefits and security?'" Victoria winced at the memory. "Or when I mentioned that my software was helping a startup increase their conversion rates. Mom said, 'Well, that's a cute hobby, but you should think about going back to school for something more practical.' So I stopped sharing anything meaningful with any of you." Mrs. Lauron approached discreetly with the final paperwork and my credit card. Ms. Rodriguez, everything has been processed successfully. We'll have all alterations completed by tomorrow at 3:00 p.m. Will someone be picking them up, or would you prefer delivery? Delivery is perfect, I said, signing the receipt with practiced ease. Victoria watched me sign the receipt, then looked at my signature. Isabella Rodriguez, she read aloud in a stunned voice. It actually says CEO next to your name, because that's what I am. Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Digital Solutions. How many employees do you have? Victoria asked in a small voice. 437 as of last week. We're hiring about 20 new people every month. Victoria stared at me like I was a complete stranger. 437 people work for you? For the company you built? Yes. We have development teams, sales teams, marketing specialists, customer success managers, data scientists, project managers, HR staff, legal counsel, accounting, facilities management. It's a real corporation, Victoria. The wedding, Victoria said suddenly, and I could see a terrible realization dawning on her face. Marcus's wedding, our wedding. You're paying for a $200,000 wedding on a marketing manager's salary. How have you been affording it? Victoria's face crumpled as the full weight of their financial situation hit her. Dad's been helping us. He took out a second mortgage on the house. Mom's been talking about going back to work because they need the income to help with wedding costs and the new mortgage payments. My heart sank completely. This was exactly what I'd been afraid might be happening, but I'd been too proud and too hurt to ask directly. Victoria, why didn't anyone tell me it was that serious? Because we all thought you were broke, she exclaimed, her voice cracking with emotion. You drive that 15-year-old Honda Civic. You buy your clothes at Target and H&M. You live in what we thought was a tiny studio apartment. You never go on expensive vacations or buy luxury items. How are we supposed to know you had money? I drive the Honda because it's reliable, fuel-efficient, and I don't need to impress anyone with my car. I buy clothes at Target because expensive designer clothes don't make me a better programmer or CEO. And the Silver Lake space isn't tiny. It's 1,400 square feet of dedicated workspace where I built a billion-dollar company. Victoria buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. Dad's going to lose the house, Isabella. The mortgage payments are absolutely killing him, but he was too proud to ask anyone for help. And you've been sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars while our family falls apart financially. I felt the familiar pang of guilt that had been keeping me awake for months ever since I'd started suspecting that my parents might be struggling. Victoria, I swear I didn't know about the second mortgage. You have to believe me. If I had known Dad was in financial trouble, I would have helped immediately. How could you not know? We've all been stressed about money for over a year. Mom's been clipping coupons and shopping at discount stores. Dad's been working extra hours at the firm even though he's supposed to be winding down toward retirement. Because nobody tells me anything important, I said, my voice rising for the first time in years. I'm the family disappointment, remember? The one who will never amount to anything substantial. The one who chose a useless major and wastes her time on computer games. Why would anyone confide in me about serious adult problems? Mrs. Lauron cleared her throat diplomatically. Ladies, perhaps you'd like to continue this conversation somewhere more private. We have other appointments, arriving in 15 minutes. Victoria and I looked around, suddenly realizing we'd been having an intense family meltdown in one of Beverly Hills' most exclusive and expensive bridal boutiques, probably in front of other wealthy clients. You're absolutely right, I said, standing up and smoothing my simple black dress. Victoria, let's go somewhere quiet where we can talk properly. There's a lot more you need to understand. 30 minutes later, we were sitting in a corner booth at a small, quiet cafe in West Hollywood. Victoria stirred her vanilla latte nervously while I waited patiently for her to process everything she'd learned. Tell me about Phoenix Digital Solutions, she said finally, her voice steadier but still shaky. I want to understand everything. So I told her the complete story. I explained the late nights coding in my dorm room, surviving on ramen and coffee while developing the initial algorithms. I talked about landing our first major client, a struggling e-commerce startup that later went public and made billions partly because of our predictive marketing technology. I explained how our AI could analyze consumer behavior patterns across multiple platforms and predict purchasing decisions with unprecedented accuracy. We revolutionized how companies approach digital marketing, I said. Instead of casting wide nets and hoping for the best, our algorithms let businesses target exactly the right customers at exactly the right moment with exactly the right message. Our technology has helped clients increase their conversion rates by an average of 340%. That's why Marcus was so excited, Victoria said slowly. That kind of technology would be incredibly valuable to his venture capital firm. Our client list includes Google, Amazon, Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, and about 200 other major corporations. We're launching operations in London, Berlin, and Tokyo next quarter. The European expansion alone is projected to add $200 million to our annual revenue. Victoria set down her coffee cup with trembling hands. When you say the company is worth over $1 billion, the last official valuation from our Series C funding round was $1.4 billion, but with the Microsoft partnership and our international expansion, we're expecting the next valuation to exceed $2 billion. Billion with a B, multiple billions. Victoria stared at me like I was an alien who had suddenly materialized in her life. Isabella, you're not just successful. You're not just wealthy. You're legitimately one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the country. I prefer to focus on the work rather than the recognition, I said quietly. But yes, Phoenix Digital Solutions has been extremely successful. Dad's about to lose the house over a $200,000 wedding that represents less than what you probably make in a week. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. The personal account balance showed numbers that would have seemed impossible to me just a few years ago. What's the exact mortgage balance? Isabella, you absolutely cannot just... Victoria, what's the balance? She reluctantly pulled out her own phone, scrolling through recent text messages from our father. $347,000. But Isabella, this is insane. I cannot let you just pay off our parents' mortgage. That's an enormous amount of money. I was already typing in the wire transfer details. Done. The mortgage is completely paid off. Plus, I added an extra $20,000 for Dad to handle any associated paperwork and fees. Victoria's phone immediately buzzed with a notification. She looked at the screen and gasped audibly. You just sent Dad $370,000, Isabella. That's more than most people make in 10 years. It's less than Phoenix Digital Solutions generates in revenue every single day, I said matter-of-factly. Victoria, do you want to know what my biggest regret has been these past 4 years? It's not the 18-hour workdays or the stress of managing hundreds of employees. It's watching my family struggle with financial problems I could solve in 5 minutes, but not knowing because everyone assumed I was the failure who needed help. Victoria started crying, which immediately drew concerned looks from other cafe patrons. I'm so sorry, Isabella. We've been absolutely terrible to you. We've been condescending and dismissive and completely blind to who you really are. You haven't been terrible. You've been protecting yourselves from what you thought was another family financial burden. I understand the logic completely. But we've been so incredibly condescending, so dismissive of everything you do. Oh my God, Isabella. Last month at Sunday dinner, Dad said you'd never own property and would probably live in rental apartments your whole life. I do own property, actually. Phoenix Digital Solutions owns our office buildings in 4 cities. And I personally own commercial real estate in 6 states, plus my penthouse, a house in Malibu, a cabin in Aspen, and a small apartment in Manhattan for business trips. But Victoria clearly couldn't handle more revelations right now. The important thing is fixing our family dynamics going forward, I said gently. And Victoria, your wedding is going to be absolutely perfect. Marcus doesn't need to know that his firm probably can't afford our minimum investment requirements. That would create awkward tension for everyone. But Dad never needs to lose sleep over money problems again. Victoria wiped her eyes with a napkin, smearing her carefully applied makeup. What about Mom? She's been planning to go back to work because they desperately need her income. If Mom wants to work, that should be her choice based on personal fulfillment, not financial desperation. Actually, Phoenix Digital Solutions could genuinely use someone with her project management background and corporate experience. If she's interested in a senior consulting position, I'd love to interview her. You'd hire Mom? I'd interview Mom professionally. If she's qualified and fits our company culture, I'd absolutely hire her. But Victoria, here's what needs to change immediately. No more family secrets about financial situations. If someone needs help, they ask directly. Someone has good news, they share it openly. We're completely done with assumptions and false pride. Victoria nodded eagerly. Absolutely. No more secrets. But Isabella, I have to ask, why reveal everything now? You could have quietly paid for things behind the scenes and maintained your secret indefinitely. I smiled, thinking about the moment in the bridal boutique when Mrs. Lauren had read my credit limit aloud and Victoria's entire worldview had collapsed. Because I finally realized that keeping secrets was hurting all of us more than the truth ever could. You were stressed about money you didn't need to worry about. Dad was sacrificing his retirement security for a wedding that should be a pure celebration. And I was building an incredible company with no family to share the success with. So what happens now? How do we move forward from this? Now you get married in the wedding of your absolute dreams without Dad going into debt or Mom sacrificing her retirement. Now our parents can retire comfortably whenever they choose. And now I stop pretending to be someone I'm not. Victoria reached across the small table and grabbed my hands tightly. I'm so incredibly proud of you, Isabella, and I'm ashamed that it took me this long to see how extraordinary you are. You're going to make me cry in a West Hollywood cafe, I warned, squeezing her hands back. One more question, Victoria said, her voice still shaky. The penthouse on Wilshire Boulevard. How big is it exactly? 4,000 square feet. 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 2 offices, a full kitchen, living areas, and a private rooftop terrace with panoramic views of the city. And you let us think you lived in a studio apartment. I let you think I lived in a studio because I was working out of the Silver Lake space 12 hours a day. Honestly, I bought the penthouse primarily as a real estate investment. I spend most of my time at the Phoenix Digital offices anyway. Victoria shook her head in complete amazement. My little sister, the accidental real estate mogul. Not accidental, very intentional. Real estate appreciates consistently, and I needed stable places to invest company profits beyond just technology stocks. How many properties do you actually own? I considered whether to reveal the complete extent of my real estate portfolio. Enough that, if I wanted to, I could give each immediate family member their own house and still have plenty of investment properties remaining. Victoria's jaw dropped again. Each family member? Isabella, that's Mom, Dad, you, me, and potentially Marcus after we get married. You could buy 5 houses. I could buy significantly more than 5 houses. This is completely surreal. 6 hours ago I thought you were the family charity case who might need help paying rent. Now, I discover you could probably buy our entire neighborhood. Not the entire neighborhood. Maybe half the neighborhood. We both started laughing. The kind of exhausted, emotional laughter that comes after major revelations and intense stress relief. What are you planning to tell Marcus about all this? The complete truth. That my sister is a brilliant entrepreneur who built a technology empire while our family wasn't paying attention, and that his firm better make an exceptional impression if they want any chance of working with Phoenix Digital Solutions. They'll receive the same professional consideration as every other potential partner, I said diplomatically. But Victoria, make sure Marcus understands that Phoenix Digital Solutions doesn't mix business relationships with family relationships. If Sterling Ventures wants to work with us, they'll need to earn that opportunity through merit. Understood completely. Victoria paused, looking thoughtful. Can I ask you something personal? More personal than my net worth and property portfolio. Are you actually happy with all this incredible success? With building the company? With everything you've accomplished, are you genuinely happy with your life? I thought about her question seriously. I'm extremely proud of what Phoenix Digital Solutions has become. I love the technological challenges, I love leading my team, and I love knowing that our innovations are helping thousands of businesses succeed. But Victoria, the happiest I've been in 4 years was watching your face when you realized your wedding would be perfect and Dad wasn't going to lose his house. Victoria started crying again, but this time they were clearly tears of relief and love. I love you so much, Isabella, and I promise you, everything is going to be different from now on. No more dismissing your achievements, no more assuming you need our help or guidance. From now on, we're going to treat you like the successful CEO you actually are. Just treat me like your sister, I said simply. That's honestly all I've ever wanted. 3 weeks later, I stood in Victoria's wedding party wearing the perfectly altered $3,200 bridesmaid dress, watching her marry Marcus in a ceremony that exceeded even her highest expectations. Dad walked her down the aisle with tears of pure joy in his eyes, no longer burdened by mortgage payments or financial stress of any kind. During the elegant reception, Marcus's business partners approached me with genuine respect and professional interest in Phoenix Digital Solutions work. Mom mentioned excitedly that she was looking forward to her interview for the senior consulting position. Victoria's maid of honor speech included a beautiful line about learning that the people we love most sometimes surprise us in the most wonderful and extraordinary ways. As I watched my family celebrate together, finally free from financial worry and fully included in my real life for the first time, I realized something profound. Building Phoenix Digital Solutions had initially been about proving I could succeed despite their doubts and dismissiveness, but sharing that success with them, that was entirely about love. And for the first time in 4 years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. Sometimes, late at night in the quiet of my penthouse, I sit on the rooftop terrace and look out over the city lights that never quite sleep. The skyline hums with the same restless energy that once kept me coding until dawn, but now it feels different, softer. I used to think success was a fortress, something I had to build alone, brick by silent brick, to prove I belonged inside it. Every acquisition, every headline, every new zero on the valuation felt like another layer of armor against the voices that said I'd never make it. I told myself the secrecy was strategy, that hiding the truth protected me from judgment. But the truth? It was loneliness wearing a tailored suit. The moment Victoria's world cracked open in that boutique wasn't just her revelation, it was mine. Watching her face shift from disbelief to awe to guilt, I realized I'd been punishing my family for doubts they didn't even know they'd planted in me anymore. I'd turned their underestimation into a cage I locked myself inside, and the key? It was never theirs to hold. It was mine. Paying off the mortgage wasn't charity, it was apology. It was the first time in 4 years I let myself need them as much as they unknowingly needed me. Money can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy the sound of my dad's voice cracking when he called to say, "Mija, the bank it's gone. The second mortgage is gone." That tremor wasn't about dollars. It was about a father who finally saw his daughter, not as the dreamer, not as the disappointment, but as the one who carried the weight he'd been too proud to share. I don't cry often. Code doesn't leave room for tears. But that night, after Victoria fell asleep on my couch clutching a throw pillow like it was the last stable thing in her universe, I stood in the kitchen and let myself break, not from exhaustion, but from relief, from the sudden, overwhelming understanding that love isn't a line item on a balance sheet, it's the margin where everything else fits. Phoenix Digital Solutions will keep growing. We'll hit 2 billion, then 5, then who knows. But the part of me that measures worth in algorithms has learned a new metric, the weight lifted from my mother's shoulders when she canceled her job applications, the way my father now texts me memes about retirement hobbies instead of overtime shifts, the way Victoria says my sister, the CEO with the same pride she once reserved for her own promotions. I built an empire to prove I could. I opened the gates to prove I didn't have to do it alone, and that, more than any valuation, is the return on investment I'll carry for the rest of my life.